I have a dream. And so I wake up in the DMV. But this is a DMV like no DMV you've ever seen.
Okay.
Right? It seems like a DMV that you would find like in the country, like in the country, right? Small. And when I get to the DMV,
Like rural.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
rural. So I get to the DMV, and the parking lot is humongous, but the place is small, and the parking lot is packed. But when I get in there, there's this like nice old lady that greets me, and she's like, "Hi, what are you here for today?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to renew my license." And she's like, "Okay, do you have all the necessary documents to renew your license?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I think so." And so she waves me over to the counter, and I talk to the guy on the counter, and I pay my fee, and they give me my license, and I walk out and I leave. Great, no problem, no big deal, right? And you think, oh, that's it. That's the whole story. Wow, what a lame, terrible dream you had. Because like, why would you? Yeah, having a dream in the DMV. That's what the heck. No one wants that. That's not cool.
Sounds like a nightmare, bro.
But yeah, it does. But then in the dream, it's the next day now. So I've been in the dream for a day, and I get in a car accident. Now, in that car accident, it's not very severe, but I lose my license. I lose it. So I have to go back to the DMV. So this time I get an Uber ride to the DMV. I show up there, go inside, and they're like, "Hey, we've seen you before. What are you here for?" And I'm like, "I'm here for a license replacement." And they're like, "Okay, yeah, go to that line over there." So I get to the line, and then the guy's like, "We're going to help you in just a second." Now I know, maybe right now you're thinking, this story's pretty lame and it's getting boring, but check it out. This is where it twists. I go to the guy and I say, "Hey, I want to get a replacement because I got in an accident and lost my ID." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Give me a minute. Let me ask to see, how we can help you." So I go, "Cool, I'm going to use the restroom." I go to the restroom and I'm washing my hands. And when I look up, I have like this weird mask on. It's kind of borderline creepy. All my facial features are gone and there's only eyes, but it's distorted. It looks like almost like a creature. And so I go back to the guy and he's like, "Okay, well, we have to take a picture in order to give you this renewal." And he's like, "But wait, we have to take that mask off. We can't take the picture of you with that mask on."
Interesting.
And I'm like, "I know, but I can't take it off. It's like semi-permanent. I've tried. Look." And I'm like pulling at the mask and I can't take the mask off. I can't take the mask off. And it's a creepy looking like mask. It looks like a reverse teardrop, with no, with like just my eyes and everything else, like not even a mouth. And so the guy's like, "Look, we can't do it." I'm like, "Okay, well, I already paid. So like, can I at least get my money back?" He's like, "I don't know if we can do a refund. Maybe next time you come, we'll take that money and we'll put it towards, your license next time. Just come back." And I'm like, "Look, weird. That's fine. But can I at least get something in writing, get an assurance?" He's like, "Okay, in order for us to give you assurance, you have to talk to the boss." And I'm like, "Okay, well, how can I talk to the boss?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, she's around here somewhere. She's the one that greeted you in the beginning when you came in." And I'm like, "She's the boss?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's the boss, but she's not here right now. You have to wait." Now it feels like a whole day passes and I can't leave the DMV. I go to the parking lot, but I can't go past the fence. I can't leave this place. I'm trapped here. And then the guy comes over to me. He's like, "Hey, the boss is here. She'll see you now." And I'm like, "Okay, where is she?" All of a sudden, the building expands. Like almost like in the Harry Potter movies, it expands like by like an extra door. And she's at the top. And as soon as I see her, I feel this weird presence. But not like a bad weird, like a safe weird. And then I look over to the guy and I'm like, "Hey, well, how can I get up there? Like, is there stairs?" He's like, "No. The only way to get up to her is you have to climb through the outside of the building." And he's like, and I was like, "Okay, well, I don't see like any way to climb." He's like, "Yeah, watch, I'll show you." He climbs with ease, like 3 floors, gets up to the window and goes through the window. And he's like, "Come on." And the woman is there looking down at me. And I'm just like, okay. So I'm like, I'm fat, right?
No.
And I don't have like, I have decent strength, but I wouldn't be able to, like, if I was hanging on that railing right there and I was to come up, there's no way I'm pulling myself up. I'm going to fall, right? And maybe if I get like that superhuman, like fear strength,
kind of like that adrenaline,
right? Yeah. But I can maybe do one pull up, maybe to save my life, right? I grab the side of the wall and I climb up. I get all the way up there. Once I'm up there, I walk through the door. I squeeze through the window and she's there looking at me. She has like a little scar under the eye. old, very clearly looks very wise, very smart. Like, have you ever seen like an older, really wise, like
Yeah.
well kept lady, woman?
Yeah.
That's how she looked. And now this is where it gets weird. And she's like, hi. She's like, do you know who I am?
Wow.
And I go, yes, I do. I was like, she's like, yeah, I'm the boss of the DMV. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, you're God. And she goes, how did you know? And I'm like, and she's like, how did you know I was God? And I was like, because I felt you from the moment I saw you through the window. I knew you were God. And she goes, yeah, you're right. I am. She goes, I had to come see you. And I'm like, why do you want to see me? She's like, because you've been bad. And I'm like, she's like, you see that mask? And I'm like, yeah, what is this? She goes, and the mask comes off. And I'm like, she's like, I had to come correct you a little bit. And I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, what are you talking about? And she goes, what do you think of my house? And I'm like, it's cool. It's a little retro, but it's cool. And she's like,
You would say something like that.
Yeah. She goes, interesting. She goes, you see this wall? This color that I have it, and you see these fixtures? This is what I like. If somebody else was to come in here, they'd be like, man, this is a really cool retro house. She goes, but to you, you would see a million things that you could fix in here. She's like, she's sitting there telling me like, pretty much like, she was telling me how she wanted to see me because I was living wrong, how I always want to fix everything, how nothing's ever good enough for me, which that is kind of my life. But that is the way I operate. I behave that way, right? And I don't always mean to be that way. But as she's telling me all this stuff, she's just getting ready. So I ask her, I'm like, so what can I do to like change this to be better? I'm getting ready. She's about to tell me. I felt like I spent hours with her. She's about to tell me, and then my dog barks and I wake up. But after I woke up and I started thinking about it, I've been thinking about the dream for days. I'm like, okay, why was I at the DMV? Is it because the DMV, like when you have an ID that shows your identity?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you can't take a photo, right? If you're wearing a mask, right? It's not your true identity. So they can't take a photo of that.
Yeah.
They can't use that because like this has my, it has my name, it has my, my license
Proves who you
number,
are.
Address, everything. Without this, you can't
prove who you are, where you're from.
So it's like, it made, like once I started kind of correlating things, and I don't know what you think, please give me some clarity here. But then I'm thinking, okay, it made sense as like, but I was like, why was God a woman? Was that God? I doubt it was God. And I've been questioning that. And then I'm just like, I'm sitting there dreaming of this. She's the boss of the DMV. So the boss of the identity telling me that she wanted to come see me because I haven't been living right. So she wanted to have a direct conversation with me. And I'm like, wait.
That's good.
So this whole thing, again, in the dream, I'm there for days, but I'm just like, since that dream, I haven't been able to get out of my mind. What do you think that means? And right now, by the way, now the dream is like 3 days removed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm forgetting, I didn't like journal it. So these are like the major bullet points, but inside of that, there was a lot of conversation that I had with that woman there. And she really broke things down for me. And she was about to tell me like what I could do to fix things. Cause I asked her, I was like, well, what can I do? Like, tell me what to do. And then my dog barks. And I'm just like, what? What is that? What is that, Danny?
Man, that's pretty. Well,
is it nonsensical?
No. Well, let's unpack it. And I'm not let's say a specialist on dreams, but you have the Holy Spirit that gives you discernment, right? So there has to be discernment behind it.
Wow.
There's people out there that have the gift of interpretation of dreams, and that's cool. I personally don't have that gift, but I can see things and read between the lines what the Holy Ghost allows us to have. And you probably think, oh man, that sounds really religious. Well, truthfully, it is, because His ways are way higher than ours, and His mysteries are greater than ours. But if you notice, Jesus, He always spoke in parables, right?
Right.
Because He says, if I told you, you would not be able to digest or be able to discern what I'm telling you. I have to explain to you in stories and in parables so you could understand with your earthly mind and your mindset. Okay, so let's unpack it. The DMV is something that everybody dreads.
Yeah.
Nobody likes going to the
Nobody
DMV.
likes going to
Okay,
it.
so I'm just gonna see it from. You asked me my perspective. I'm gonna give you my perspective. No one wants to go to the DMV in Texas. You know, we call it DPS, Department of Public Safety, but it's still the DMV. Nobody wants to go. Everybody's rude. Nobody wants to wait like 2 hours to be able to get anything done. And everybody takes their time and everybody has a bad attitude. So that's number one. I think it's like you're in a position in a place that you really don't want to be, I think. And then the second, yes, you hit it on the nail whenever it's a place of identification, it's a place of proof of identification and therefore certification of identification for you to prove who you are. But the God factor behind it is that you lose it and you come back the next day. And it almost seems like you're walking and making decisions that you're in the place that you don't want to be. And then you remove yourself by situation, accident, what have you, or just mishandling your identification. Remember, you lost the ID. You had it, you
Right.
lost it.
Right.
You come back, you have this mask on you, you place on you, and you can't remove this mask and you see it as distorted. It's not who you are, and it bothered you and it affected you to where you could not retake another picture because it wasn't who you are.
Right.
Okay, so then now here we are. It's like, so there's change. There's like a pattern. You have to change something. There's something that went wrong. There's something that you have to remove from you. Now, the effort for you to get to the boss, quote unquote, the boss, which is the boss of the DMV, this lady, in representation of God. But you didn't know she was God, but you felt she was God. This also ties into the wisdom of a female woman or a grandmother or a mom that was in your life that may have had weight in your growth, weight in your identity. Um, to be honest with you, maybe the nurturing effect of a woman in your life, whether it was your mother, your grandmother, somebody that had weight, and you validated everything that she said. So that is your perception to the closeness of God. This is what we understand as not the replacement theory, but what we understand as the God effect, because there are teachings and people that actually say that um, your relationship with your parents actually emulates your relationship or your desires to the relationship with God. And that also in fact affects also the fractured moments. You know, the fractured relationship with your parents also causes the fractured relationship that you have with God. I don't know why God was a woman, but somehow, some way, that is how it identified to you. That's what brought weight to you. There's a woman in your life that possibly validated you, that gave you identity, that gave you assurance, that gave you hope. It could have been your grandmother, like I said, your mom. It could be a tia. It could be a spiritual mother. I don't know. But the truth is, like, when you identified your God and she's telling you things, you're basically listening until the actual, like the gift of giving you the ability to have the solution to your question.
Yeah.
And then the dog wakes you up beforehand. And that's kind of like a bridge that maybe it was just spontaneous, maybe it was just accidental. Maybe this dream, maybe you just had bad dinner or whatever. Maybe you had bad tacos or something like that. But I think it's way more spiritual than that, because it affected you. It's been on your
It did,
mind.
man.
It's rocking you,
Even
right?
now, as I was telling you, like recounting it,
Mhm.
I felt myself getting a little bit emotional. And I'll be real, man. I'm
Yeah.
not really an emotional person.
I
I
know.
actually struggle with being emotional.
Mm.